Good evening, guys and gals. I know it's been a while. I wanted to give a little bit of an update on the Thailand travel restrictions and future plans in terms of when is Thailand going to open up and make it easier or the ability to get into Thailand more efficiently and with a shorter quarantine period. But let me read off my notes to you so that way I get everything told to you correctly. Just about a week ago, the U.S. government had posted that they're going to go ahead and recommend that U.S. tourists don't travel to Thailand. I think they're at the highest level possible, and that's through the CDC, which basically said it's too much of a COVID situation over in Thailand, and they recommend that people don't travel into Thailand. So that really will put a damper on those individuals who are planning to get to Thailand at this current time, even with the 14-day quarantine or the Phuket sandbox model or the upcoming Koh Samui sandbox model. Um, Currently, right now, with the third wave going on for the past over 3 weeks throughout all of Thailand, there's been a lot of lockdowns and restrictions. It's been going on for a number of weeks, and I believe tomorrow they're going to go ahead and discuss whether they're going to rescind or pedal back the restrictions and open things back up, or if they're going to continue to extend it for another 2 weeks out. So I'll have that information as a kind of a note in the comments section once I get this information in the next few hours. There's daily infection rates that are hitting all-time highs on a day-to-day basis, and the death rate has actually climbed too, and they're hitting all-time records on a daily basis. So that was back on August the 9th. Thailand was added to the highest level 4 of listed countries with very high issues in terms of the COVID situation, but in general, it's a general recommendation by the CDC telling U.S. citizens not to travel into Thailand at this current time. Now, as you know, the Delta variant is the situation that is causing the third wave in Thailand, and with the infections rates at an all-time daily high for a number of weeks now, and the death rate climbing and hitting all-time highs, they went on a full lockdown in Thailand a few weeks back, 3 weeks ago, and the numbers are still high. We haven't seen it plateau and start coming down yet, and so we'll find out here in the next few hours whether or not they're going to continue to extend the lockdown measures that are currently in place. Now, in the Phuket sandbox model that I discussed before, when they had opened up, there were tourists coming into Phuket. The situation with Phuket was they seen an uptick. Basically, they called it a recent flare up of new cases on the island, meaning that they are going to extend the restrictions on the island itself. So bars are closed, a number of entertainment venues have not opened back up, and so the island is a bit quieter than typical. I mean, not withstanding that there's so few tourists traveling into Phuket, but the fact that there's a lot of venues closed and it kind of ends up dying down very quietly for the evening period. Now, Phuket recorded 64 new local cases a week ago, and the occupancy rate at the hospital beds are over 70%. So that's their concern. They want to go ahead and kind of keep things in check. And so these restrictions that kind of hamper your ability to have a good time in Phuket in the evenings are going to still stay in place for the indefinite future. Now, on Friday of this past week, they had 217 COVID fatalities with 22,086 cases reported. And those are high numbers. And it's been going on like this for quite some time now, over 10 days, where the numbers have slowly climbed, and then they just kind of keep on bumping up a little bit higher numbers on a daily basis, day in and day out. We haven't seen it plateau, and they're not sure exactly when or if it's going to plateau at some period of time. It's kind of up in the air right now. Now, let me go ahead and kind of explain to you through this report here from the Bangkok Post what's going on with Phuket. So it says here that Phuket has implemented the sandbox model, but with extending COVID restrictions until the end of the month. And so here we are in the middle of approximately about the middle of August. So that means for the next 2 more weeks, there's not going to be pubs and restaurants and bars and entertainment venues that are going to be open. So it's going to kind of limit what people can do on the island. Um, and it's something that they want to do until they can get things kind of in check. It's good that they're implementing these things now to keep the numbers manageable, because if it spirals out of control, they may end up pulling the Phuket sandbox model, which means that they'll be taking so many steps backwards, and the ability for Thailand to open up here at the end of the third quarter or into the fourth quarter may not happen. Now, the Tourism Association of Thailand has pinned their hopes on a shorter quarantine sometime during the fourth quarter to help accelerate the demand for tourism into the country. That is a good thing. As you remember, I had reported quite some time ago, back in earlier this year, that they had reduced the quarantine from 14 days to 7 days. But then when the infection rates started climbing, they went ahead and went back up to 14 days. So the TAT governor, Yutesak, has basically said that he's expecting, because of the severity of this recent third wave of COVID infections and situation, and with the stringent measures that are currently in place, this idea of possibly opening up Thailand on this pre-planned date of around October 14th-ish may not occur, but he says it's pretty adamant that they open up for tourism sometime in the fourth quarter. So currently, right now, it looks like, based on what they're saying, is they're forecasting a kind of a reduction in the number of foreign tourism coming into the country third quarter, but they want to keep the numbers at their target level for fourth quarter. And so what they're hoping to do is basically reduce the 14-day quarantine to a manageable 7 or 10-day quarantine sometime October, November, December. When in the fourth quarter, it's anybody's guess at this current time. For me personally, my company that has basically shelved projects for the time being, we're supposed to be under this idea that we're going to be heading back somewhere around October 14th-ish. My boss that I've talked to a number of times, I said, hey, typically our MO is basically if they open up on the 14th, we're going to wait about 7 to 10 days before bringing you back, just to make sure that everything's good to go, because there's no point in you coming over and then all of a sudden they have an uptick and they institute restrictions, projects don't get started again, businesses are closed, then you're back stuck in Thailand with nothing else to do. And so what will probably happen is if they do open up October 14th, which is now seeming kind of very iffy, but let's just say they do, then somewhere between October 21st to 25th, I might be heading back over there. And then hopefully the quarantine period is minimal at most. Now, with the current Delta variant being so deadly and so infectious and causing so many infections in Thailand, a number of business owners that I talked to who had conversations with local city officials have basically said that they expect lockdowns and closure measures to be instituted and continued and extended for the foreseeable future. So currently right now, here we are in August, middle of August. They assume that August is already shot. So we're talking September, right? Well, even if they open up sometime, let's say September 15th, they're not going to reduce the quarantine period for at least a whole month beyond that, right? So if they start opening up local businesses middle of September, They check things out, see how the numbers work, and then they wait a month, and then we get to October 15th, and then they say, hey, we're going to open back up for tourists, expats, and workers and other people from abroad, and welcome them into Thailand. Um, that may be, another month out. And then on top of that, we have to do our, possibly 7, 10, 14-day quarantine. So by the time you get through all those hoops and those waiting periods, the gaps and periods that it usually takes for things to be implemented, we're looking probably like November at best. So, I'm being realistic. I find it hard to believe that the October 14th ish target figure is going to be happening. And then as things get pushed out, the 2 week restriction lifting and reduction, along with usually a 30-day wait after the local people have opened up their businesses. I think best case scenario, we're talking late September. I'm sorry, late October, hopefully sometime in November, assuming that restrictions are reduced or lifted but sometime in September, right? Because these things go in steps. So that's the news I have now. I'll go ahead and in the comments section, once I get this information here in a few hours, and confirm this information on terms of if the current lockdown measures and restrictions that are currently in place for everybody inside of Thailand, if those things are extended out 2 more weeks through the end of August, I'll go ahead and put that in the comment section. So that's a little bit of what's going on right now. All the information I received, and all the information that I confirmed first before passing that on to you guys. So I'll keep you abreast of what's going on, and I'll do another one of these videos once I know what's occurring and if there's additional new information that is relevant for you guys.